This is Glass Half Full with me, Steve Twyman, where I'm joined by inspirational guests from around the world, sharing their stories that may well resonate with you. Sit back and enjoy this week's Glass Half Full. Well, a warm welcome to this week's Glass Half Full, and it's a pleasure to be joined on the line by Richard. Richard, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Really looking forward to this. Get ready, listeners, because we're going to be talking about speed. We're going to be talking about fitness, and a word that we're going to explain a little bit more about, cadence. I'm looking forward to that as well. So let's explore that a bit about that as Richard. But Richard, before we do that, how do you get involved in putting together this wonderful company where you help people?
Wow, that's a great question, man. Let's take it all the way back to the beginning when I'm a youngster in school. I was winning sports days, and it all stemmed from there. One of my teachers, she was like, "You know what you should do? You should join your local athletics club." So I was like, "Okay." So I went down there, and from that day, when I went down to Reading Athletics Club, I fell in love with track and field, specifically the 100 and 200 meters, and that's when I pursued a career in sprinting from there.
Wow. Where did that take you then? Did you obviously compete
Yep,
locally, nationally, or whatever? What did you do?
yep. Locally, county level as well. And then this is kind of where my story also stems from. So around the age of 15, I had a horrific injury in my hip where I tore cartilage in my hip. So I couldn't run, I couldn't play football, I couldn't do anything. And so as I grew up and I went to university, I still had these injuries, and I was like, no, man, how can this keep happening to me? So as I was going to university, I wanted to study specifically strength and conditioning to see how I can improve my performance, but also reduce my injury risk, which is essentially what strength and conditioning is in a nutshell. And
Okay.
so,
No,
sorry,
go
did you?
on. Sorry. No, it's all right.
And then from there, as you go on, you start to think, wow, I can actually apply some of these things to not just myself, but to other people. And me being a sprinter, I understand the value of speed and the role that it plays in not just obviously sprinting and track and field, but in also other sports such as football, rugby, even tennis, and other like court sports to a certain degree, like basketball as well.
So, Richard, you know what? That injury that you sustained then, what
Hmm.
was that sustained while you were running?
Yeah, so a couple times. So it actually happened when I was playing football and I wasn't diagnosed properly. And then I kept playing on it, and also I kept sprinting as well in the summer. So then over time, the cartilage just tore, and I had to get it repaired twice actually. One time in 2016 as a 16-year-old, and then as a 20-year-old as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, quite a traumatic time then, especially
yeah,
when you've got this love of sprinting and athletics and sport. It
100%.
take us into a little bit of a dark place. That could, I guess.
100%, especially at school when all of your friends are footballers, and you are trying to keep up, and it's like, man, like you're stuck inside. You've got your GCSEs going on, so it's all inside all day, and you can't really express yourself how you want to. So I can understand where athletes have a lot of mental health struggles when they're going through injuries, especially at a young age, because at that time you're just wanting to burn energy and have fun, play with your friends, and do what you love to do essentially. And so
Mm.
to put that into perspective, for imagine you've got now athletes at the top level who are running or playing for their families, essentially to try and obviously put food on the table and make a way for themselves. It puts it into another perspective of how traumatic that can be, especially for people whose livelihoods are at stake.
Yeah, I remember before we just talking about you. I remember doing an interview with Team GB's John Lane. He was the
Yes.
world indoor decathlon champion at the time.
Wow.
When I spoke to him, um, and I loved his honesty and transparency, because at the end of the interview, I said, "Is anything you'd like to share, John, with the listeners?" And he went, "Yeah." He said, "People look at us on the telly and look at us competing, and they think that we're always in perfect condition, but we've generally got a niggle."
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something, and it's the mindset as well as that helps do that. But yeah, so look, you put together this company called Cadence General, and
Yeah.
tell me what it's all about. Then, how long's it been going?
So it's really been in the works since like my latter years at uni. So my job is to solve problems, and those problems are either help you get faster or help you get stronger. If I can solve those two problems, that will put you in very good stead for your future. And so the word cadence, for me, this is a personal subjective terminology. So when I look at how somebody runs,
Hmm.
I'm looking at their cadence. It's a visual representation for how someone runs. So a combination of like their stride length and how quickly they can interchange their limbs. How does it look to me? Does it look rhythmic? Does it look fluid? Is the
Hmm.
timing right? Those are the words that I would use to explain cadence. And then a general, to me, has a few connotations, but a lot of people would associate a general with someone who's kind of bossy or ordering someone around, which sometimes I get from some of my clients. But to me, I look at a general as a teacher, someone who is giving the soldiers the necessary tools and guidance to become self sufficient, independent individuals who can then become generals themselves and teach others.
Right. Okay. So it's like that ripple effect then. So yeah, you're just spreading
Exactly.
the message. I love that, Richard, because yeah, it's not all about you, is it?
No,
It's
not
about
at all.
help. It's all about helping others to spread the news. And I love I mean, the way you've just defined cadence there, because uh, I I enjoy cycling, and
Yeah,
the cadence on it's all
exactly.
about. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a technical wizard by any imagine, but I always talk about maintain the cadence.
That's it.
Like,
One
yeah,
step after the next.
yeah, one step after the next. And I guess you see so many different running styles as well, I guess.
100%. Everyone has their own different patterns and shapes to get from point A to point B.
Hmm. And and does some of those running styles, I'm just interested now, I'm just digressing slightly, but
Yeah, sure.
does some of them running styles lend themselves to, I'm just thinking if you're hurdling, for example,
Hmm.
and there's gaps, the steps between the hurling, does some running styles lend themselves to that type of event rather than just a sprinter?
100%. So you tend to see sprinters or hurdlers with long legs,
Right.
long legs, and that will in turn affect how you stride. Because if you've got smaller legs, your stride pattern's probably going to be smaller unless you can generate a large amount of force.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'll watch that then when I'm watching these.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed how they get over the hurdles and all that kind of stuff. It's
Oh,
like,
it's insane. If you ever get the chance to go down to a local track, normally on a Tuesday or Thursday, you'll see people training at your local track. You'll have obviously some hurdlers there. And if you ever walk up to a men's height hurdle, it's probably going to come around your belly button. That's how high it is.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So Rid, you talked about helping people with strength and speed. Okay.
Yes.
In terms of, I'm just staying on the sprinting side for a minute.
Hmm.
Are both those things really important for a sprinter? Strength and speed.
Yes. Especially speed.
Right.
Now, strength can be misinterpreted a lot of the time. So, one thing that's very special about speed is you can't replicate the forces that you're generating in the gym. So, not always necessarily the strongest person in the gym is going to be the fastest person on the track
Right.
because the amount of time that you have to produce that force is so small. we're talking 0.08 seconds of ground contact time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's at the right at the top level. And even when you're in your acceleration phase, you only have zero point 0.1. So that's a tenth of a second to put your foot into the ground and get back off. And then that slowly transitions into that 0.08.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
I get,
incredible.
yeah, that you've just explained something to me then. So when I, it's like when I watch an athletics event or the, Olympics or whatever, and they talk about that acceleration zone, I get what you mean now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's out the blocks, and you've just got that amount of time to get into that zone.
it's incredible. It's incredible. And that's why again the gym, like yes, it's a good supplement for helping you increase cross-sectional area, so muscle size, and it can help as well supplement some neural drive, so activating and recruiting muscle fibers. But the best thing you can do to get faster is to sprint itself.
Wow. That's it. And I'm just going back to my footballing days now.
Yeah,
Right, because they always talk about that first 5 yards, don't they? It's
yeah.
quick over the first 5 yards or whatever. Right,
Hmm.
and I'm going to be honest now, Richard. I was not the quickest over the first 5 yards. I
Hmm.
could keep going for a long time. I was more stamina than speed.
Gotcha. Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's important. That first 5 yards just to get
Oh,
past people.
brutally important. 100%. 100%. Very
So,
important.
so in terms of working with various, like you touched on it earlier, working with various different sports, then. So
Yes.
if you were working, say, with a footballer or a rugby player over that first 5 yards, would it be the same methodology that you would use with a sprinter, Richard?
I think you can definitely, there are certain things that you can apply, and there are certain things that you can probably steer away from in terms of the amount of volume.
Hmm.
So, because they're doing these short bursts over shorter distances, and they're probably going to get up to top speed a bit quicker, you won't need to run them, especially if they're big guys. They won't be able to maintain that acceleration for a long period of time.
Right.
However, you want to always have like a technical model of efficiency. So, what's the best angle, the best way to produce force or express force? You want to kind of push people towards it as best as possible. Now, because of everyone's different anatomical structures that we spoke about, not
Hmm.
everyone can fit into a box. But you want to make sure there are certain landmarks that are hit so that person is basically moving as efficiently as possible so that they can optimize the limbs and express the force necessary to move forwards in the timely manner.
Wow. And again, I'm just thinking back to my time as well. How, I mean, it's a long time ago, Richard. But when I was doing it. But I watch teams training now. I mean, I'm a big Doncaster Rovers fan, and they are currently away in Portugal on their pre-season training.
Must be
Right,
nice.
must be nice. And I'm watching a bit of a nerd. Right, I'm watching some of their stuff on YouTube and things, and I think, God, when I played, we never did any of that stuff. Right,
Yeah.
we'd go for a run in the woods. Right, or that was it. So you must have seen things change over the years, even in your space of time.
Oh, massively, massively. And a lot of coaches have so many different philosophies, different terminology for certain things. And even in terms of like the equipment, in terms of like sprint spikes, technology, all of these different things have now, like nutritional guidance as well, that we people have been researching, have come up to the forefront. And like you said, in team sports as well, they're starting to add and supplement more of the drills that you may see in athletics into team sports settings, because they're starting to understand the value of speed. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I
Mhm.
think we're on the precipice of something much bigger. And that's another one of my roles as well, is to, of course, showcase the benefits of speed, and how it can actually impact a team in a positive way.
Wow. So Rich, what kind of services do you provide then? Do you do workshops, one-to-ones? How does if people wanted to come to you, what could
Yeah.
they expect?
So I do one-to-one training programs. I also do online programs, and I'm looking to expand that as well and have multiple layers of, well, not most, maybe two layers of different programs where it's more interactive, or if people want to, just get a structured program where they have that stability or just need a slight guidance as to what to do, when to do it. I'm also going to do that as well, and also group training as well. One thing that's really been on my mind is doing like summer speed camps for young individuals, especially during the summer holidays when, as the Olympics is next month, getting them to understand and educate them on the importance of speed and how it can help them take or elevate their game to the next level. I think is going to be massive for me, but also on a sense of getting kids to network and communicate with each other, give them a sense of belonging to a group where they feel comfortable and they can build these relationships for years and years to come. I think that's massive.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I guess it's because we're losing that, aren't we? We're losing those
A lot.
networks. I know we're talking online now, of course, so there's the benefit of that. But
Mm-hmm.
so much time is now spent with people sat behind a computer,
Mm-hmm.
God bless, and not communicating. And I think as we record this, of course, the Euros are on, and you can see that camaraderie, just with the England team and everything like that, how that's come together. And like I just touched on that, where my team are out in Portugal doing the
Yeah.
pre-season training, and somebody would say, "Why have they gone to Portugal? They could do that in Doncaster." They've gone one
Mm-hmm.
a because it's a bit warmer, but equally they're living together for a whole week.
That's it.
They're finding out about each other. They're understanding each other.
100%.
It's not just it's not just turning up on the Saturday to go and play with 11 guys that you've never met or don't know, you know.
100%. And
And
that's,
the same in an athletics club, I'd guess.
yeah, 100%. I think people underestimate the mental side of sports as well.
Hmm.
The Especially what we were talking to or alluded to earlier in terms of the mental capacity for athletes in terms of coming back from injury, but also being a cohesive unit. Because a lot of athletes now, which I think they probably should have been doing maybe a long time ago, which some may have been, some may not have been, but it's having a team around them so that they can actually build a unit where they're not too under or overwhelmed by certain obstacles or scenarios that are in their way. And I guess that's part of my job as well, is to advise certain people that I'm working with, like, hey, maybe you should get someone for this instead of you having to do it, because your concentration should be on what you do best,
Hmm.
whether that be football, whether that be athletics, whether it be cricket. Like, you want to focus more on that so you can excel in that, and then have people around you that can take care of that other stuff, because it's just
Yeah.
going to distract you.
So Richard, where do you see your lovely business going in the future? Then, where would you like to take it?
Oh man, I would love to be working with high level and high profile athletes, and also being able to give back to the community and do these speed workshops as well and educate other coaches. Another thing that I would actually be really um, em- emboldened to do is open maybe like a women's gym as well, because this is another thing that I've noticed a lot, is that a lot of young ladies, they drop out of sports very early on, and it's sad to see because there's so much potential. They don't have, I feel like there's a certain level of competitiveness that they don't have. So, for example, let's say you're at the track, you're a good female sprinter. You're probably going to run with the guys instead of another good female sprinter. Or if
Hmm.
you maybe not as good, you maybe only have one friend who's there, who's maybe not really interested, or you have to run with um, someone from a different sport who's a long jumper, but she's not really a sprinter. So they don't really have an avenue to really express themselves in terms of sports or facilities. Like I know or I understand that a lot of women feel a certain type of way because of how sometimes men are in the gym, which is completely understandable as well. So maybe giving them a safe space from which they can obviously learn and better themselves in terms of how they want to feel, how they want to look, in maybe like a safe gym space, maybe it'd be a bit of track space as well. That would definitely be something I would look to strive to in the future, as well as opening maybe like a recovery center as well. That's something that we don't really have in Reading, somewhere where people can literally just go for recovery, whether it be like a sauna, steam room, or a type of hyperbaric chamber where you can get certain levels of packages for, okay, if you want to have a massage therapist as well, that can happen. Just brainstorming these ideas that I think would be really good to not just uplift the athletes, but I think uplift the whole country in terms of what we're able to do and how we're able to produce athletes and help them with a support system to better understand what is needed to be a top level athlete. And I think for myself as well, just to be a good role model. So one of the things, going back to the general, is people, no matter what you do, are going to look up to you in life. Like you're going to have young kids that are going to see you from afar. They might not know you. So people that might be even be your age or older, they might aspire to be you just because of something you said or something you've done. So for me, I always try and conduct myself in a well-mannered behavior and character, so that when people or younger people see me, they're thinking, wow, like that's someone I wanna be like, someone I want to emulate because of how I carry myself and how I represent my brand, and not just my brand, but my family, my mentors, and people that I've interacted with, my clients. Because at the end of the day, you are a representation of those around you, and you have to be. I think you should be a stand-up person, no matter who you're talking to and what you've been through.
God, I love that. I love that. It's, yeah, that's great. I don't know what to say about that, but that's what some great values to have there. So look, Richard, you're based in Reading, and
Yeah.
you have a gym down there.
So I work out of a gym called Studio 9. I also work in and around the Reading area if there's like a local field that I can get on if it's not raining. Then
Yeah.
I'll go to a local field and do some speed training there. Sometimes at a Bracknell Leisure Centre as well. But yeah, some just in and around Reading, Studio 9, local fields around Reading, and sometimes Bracknell Athletics track as well.
Okay, and you touched on earlier mentioning online. How does that work?
So you can visit my website at www.cadence-general.co.uk, or you can hit me up on Instagram, the.cadence.general, and you can shoot me a message and I'll be more than happy to give you an online program, and we could sit down and talk about how we can help you achieve your goals.
Wow. Wonderful stuff. Well, Richard, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Wish you well. Let's help you spread the news about what you do as well. And as I always say to people, whatever you're doing for the rest of your day, have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, a big thank you for joining us on tonight's Glass Half Full. If you'd like to have advanced information about guests that will be joining me on Glass Half Full, why not join our newsletter? Just drop me an email, steve@stevetwynham.com, and we'll add you to our Glass Half Full newsletter. And just a reminder to check out Yower Radio, your truly well-being and happiness station, online 24 hours, 7 days a week at yowerradio.co.uk.